Hello and welcome to the Film School Snobs podcast. I'm Alexander Zapeta,
And I'm Jalen Michael.
and
So,
welcome to our second episode. Jalen, how's it going?
it's been pretty good. It's a nice Memorial Day weekend setting up.
Mm,
Nice barbecues. How about you?
awesome. Yeah, same here. I've had a good weekend so far. Having barbecue tomorrow, so this should be fun. And speaking of Memorial Day weekend, it was a pretty packed weekend in terms of movies, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. So many releases this weekend. It's actually the most I've been to the movies in quite a while
Oh
in
no,
one
same
weekend.
here. Same here, yeah. Because we had Booksmart, Aladdin, Brightburn, and it was really packed.
It's so much to see, so much to spend money on, so much drinks and popcorn to buy.
Oh yeah. So for this podcast, our main event is gonna be about what came out this weekend. So we're gonna talk about Aladdin, Booksmart, Brightburn, and then after that, we'll go into like anything else that we saw this week. So let's start off with Jalen. You saw Aladdin. I didn't get around to seeing it. Um,
Yep.
Tell me why I should watch Aladdin, even though I really don't want to.
Well, I'll say this up front is that I'm in the same boat as you where I had no intentions of seeing this movie. From the trailers that they showed, it kind of looked, I don't want to say trash, but just unappealing.
Hmm.
And the best thing I can say about this is that my expectations were definitely subverted because I actually came out really enjoying this one. I think Guy Ritchie and the whole Disney team there, they definitely put something together that's pretty magical. And you know, from somebody who hasn't seen the original Aladdin in quite some time, it's been over a decade now. I
Hmm.
guess I could come in with sort of fresh eyes, but I think if you're gonna compare it to the original, then it's probably not gonna live up to it. But as the movie on its own, I think it's pretty damn good. Guess I'll start off with saying that because Guy Ritchie he directed this and his record for films lately hasn't been it's been mostly misses. Like
Yeah, I didn't like
was a,
any of his last two movies. It
uh
was like King Arthur and
King Arthur
The Man from
from
Uncle.
Uncle. Right.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy any of that.
Yeah, I didn't care for either of those either. But and he definitely keeps some of his signature style in this film, like how do the slow mo, or for whatever reason he'll speed up the frame so that the characters move faster than they actually appear. So you
Hmm.
got annoyances like that, but for the most part, like he really films this movie like to make Agabard look very beautiful, and the set designs, the costume designs, like I think this is Oscar worthy for best production design.
Hmm.
Um, and then you get into your characters. Of course, you have Aladdin, who's I can't pronounce the main actor's name. I think it's Mena Massoud. Sorry if I mispronounced that. When he first starts out, I was actually kind of worried. I didn't think he was charming enough to play Aladdin, but as the film goes on more, he definitely he plays well off of the rest of the supporting cast, and he's definitely the charm kicks in. He hits the musical notes perfectly. I think he was great, and the other big, I guess you could consider him a co-star. Will Smith as the genie, which he has pretty big shoes to fill after Robin Williams, so everybody's keeping a keen eye out for that. But I think he lives up for the most part. I think there's certain areas where you could tell he's trying to mimic uh, or pay homage to Robin Williams' portrayal of the genie. But when he's does his Will Smith thing, then that's when he definitely it comes off better. And yeah, I thought he was hilarious throughout. And another standout too is Naomi Scott as Princess Jasmine, which
Originates from the Power Rangers movie, The Pink Ranger.
right. Actually, before that, I saw her in the old Disney Channel movie, Lemonade Mouth.
Oh, that's right. She was in that. I remember
Yeah,
watching that when I was like 11.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, she's done her time, I guess, and she definitely from Lemonade Mouth she gets to stretch out her vocal abilities because she definitely the musical numbers in here. There's another highlight for me, and she's definitely the star for that. There's one song in particular that you could quote me now. I think it's going to be the next Let It Go. Probably
Mm.
not to the same scale, but you're going to see a bunch of tween girls singing this song for the next year or so because, yeah, it's definitely catchy and it's definitely powerful.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of that like over the weekend, where, like from like people who have seen Aladdin.
Yeah, about the song.
Yeah, about the song.
Yeah, it's a good one, and the songs, they I think they do a nice spin on it to keep it modern, but it's definitely faithful to the original. Um, and honestly, like I guess the complaints I would have for the film is kind of weird because all of my complaints are really just about the whole idea of Disney reboots in general. That it's kind of cheeky to get away with it because you already have a great film, so you have to try
Mm.
extra hard to kind of mess up that formula. But then again, they've done it with Dumbo somehow. So,
Mm-hmm.
but the complaints I really have about it is just like, it's the same Aladdin movies, and it doesn't really live up to it. But as its own, it's enjoyable. It's a fun family film,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, if you and the family need to see something for the weekend or next weekend throughout the summer, definitely say check out Aladdin and get the soundtrack too, because you're gonna want to be singing these songs again and relive your childhood. So
Yeah.
definitely a good movie. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, my biggest complaint with like this whole Disney rebooting animated movies and live action, and just like the reason why I didn't want to see Aladdin in the first place was, I was planning on seeing it earlier today, but I just decided against it. I
Yeah.
decided I wanted to sleep in instead of like waking up early in the morning to go watch it.
Hmm.
I rewatched the original Aladdin this week, and it's such a great movie. It's such a fun
Oh yeah.
movie, and what really makes it's really hard to like make these live action because the animation is so essential. It's like the storytelling in those
Right.
movies, like the certain characters like move a certain way, or just like certain scenes are like very expressive,
Right.
and you can't really replicate that in live action. Like the
Yeah.
biggest issue, like from what I've seen from the trailers, was like when you saw Blue Genie Will Smith, it looked ugly.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
oh my god, that looked
Yeah.
bad.
Let me say just for the record that they actually did not fix it all that well.
Uh,
It becomes a little less distracting as it goes on, but he still looks ugly.
yeah, and it's just like you look at the original design of the genie, who was voiced by Robin Williams, and it's just so simplistic, and
Yeah.
it fits the character in that movie. And
Right.
I feel like that's what Disney is really missing with their live action adaptations.
Hmm.
Um, and that's what really has me worried about Lion King coming up. There's like one shot in the trailer, it's like when Simone, Pumbaa, and Simba, like they're walking across the tree, and like it shows across time, like they're getting older.
Right.
And if you look at the original animated one while they're singing Hakuna Matata, like over here they're swinging their heads, they're having fun, like they're having fun with the song, and then they show that same shot
Right.
in the trailer, and it's just them walking. Like there's none of that expressiveness that comes with the animation.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess that's like the kind of the downfall when you go for photorealistic is that you're trying to keep it too grounded, but you miss out on, like you said, the animated features of it.
Mhm.
So it's kind of tough to try to find that balance. And I think with Aladdin too, I think they kind of struck the landing with the balance because there are scenes where it's like very expressive. Like since I was a kid, my favorite musical number from that movie was "Friend Like Me."
Mhm.
Just like that whole sequence, I think it's amazing. And I think that sequence in this film, the new one here, it doesn't live up to it, but it almost reaches it. They do some creative things with the visuals, and it's very gorgeous. It's very fast paced, pretty zany. But yeah, you do miss out like with the rest of the musical numbers. That animation definitely plays a big part into it. So
Mhm.
it's kind of
I just
unfortunate.
Yeah, it's not even just Disney, really. It's just like live action adaptations in general. Because like I had the
Right.
same complaints with like the Avatar movie,
Right.
the Ghost in the Shell movie, which I've only seen parts of. The Nerd Writer, I don't know if you follow him, but he made a great video about like how they translated it from animation to live action, and he
Mm,
just points out a lot of the problems with it and just how they just like lose a lot of elements. Not
right.
necessarily because it's live action, but like they just ignore a lot of things. I think personally, it's because like you went from animating this gorgeous city and it's like forcing it to be live action, and so it really does take away a lot from it.
Right. Yeah, no, I can see that. I definitely agree with that. But hopefully the Lion King, uh, it lives up to it. Because, like I said, I love the Jungle Book, and I think John
Yeah,
Favreau.
Jungle Book was great. This is like so
It,
far it's the best like live action
I,
remake.
oh yeah, I agree 100%. And so let's see if he could stick the landing again with that. But
Hmm.
as far as Aladdin goes, you know, I guess I'm grading it more on the curve. Is that it's not as bad as I thought it would be, and it's actually kind of better than I thought it would be. So I had a fun time with it.
Awesome. So you want to go on and talk about Booksmart?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, Booksmart. That movie, I wasn't. I when I saw the trailer, I didn't think much of it. But like, you were the one who said, "No, this one might be something good." I'm like, okay, I guess I'll check it out.
Yeah.
And I ended up really enjoying it. I really like this movie.
Oh yeah. So you got This is Olivia Wilde's directorial debut here, and I'm probably gonna butcher all the cast members' names, but the main two girls you got is Caitlin Dever and Beanie Feldstein, who I actually just found out recently that's Jonah Hill's sister.
Which one?
I believe it was Molly in the movie,
Oh,
Feldstein,
okay.
which kind of looking at her, it's like, oh, they do have the same facial features. I don't know how I didn't put that together to begin with.
Hmm.
But essentially, you got these two girls from high school. They're goody two shoe girls. Graduated in high school, and once they find out that like all their classmates who are very irresponsible are getting into these Ivy League colleges, they decide, well, I guess we could break the rules too, and let's go to this big party on our last day of school. And essentially, you got like one of those one long night type of movies in the vein of Superbad.
Hmm.
And yeah, like you, I thought this movie was hilarious. I really loved it.
Yeah, I definitely think in terms of comedy, like it doesn't work 100% of the time. I think some of the comedy does fall flat for me. But what
Okay.
I will say is like this movie is very heartfelt. Like it's very creative with its premise. My favorite scene was the when they turned into dolls. That was
Oh,
hilarious.
yeah.
That was really good.
Uh,
And it's like I said, it's really heartfelt. You can tell that Olivia Wilde like put a lot of effort into this movie. That she really cared a lot for these characters that she was writing,
yeah.
and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
All right. And speaking of Olivia Wilde too, 'cause I don't know if we ever talked about this before, but just how like the way comedies are filmed nowadays are pretty like stale and very static.
Yeah.
But this one, like the cinematography, there's a lot of beautiful shots in this movie.
Oh
Keeps it
yeah.
energetic. And
Like definitely the one I liked was when the girl Molly when she figured out like all these like quote unquote delinquents got acceptance like these
oh
really
right,
prestigious
right.
schools, and so she's like walking through the hallways and she's like, oh, what school did you go to, what school did you go to, and
Yeah.
like it's like handheld, kind of
Yeah, yeah,
shaky, and you can just tell like she's like going nuts about this, like she
yeah.
wasted her high school life just studying too much.
Yeah. Kind of this film kind of hits close to home when you say it like that too. It's like, I should have done more irresponsible things in high school.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
but yeah, no, like you said, it's great visuals in here to keep up with the fast paced comedy going on here.
Mhm.
And just the two girls in general, Kaylin Dever and Beanie Feldstein, they have great chemistry. Like
Oh
this is
yeah.
in the vein of Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum or Martin and Will. Like the chemistry between the two, I enjoyed it. You really believe they're best friends.
Mm. Yeah, and I'm just really curious to like know how much of it was improvised because it just seems
Right.
like they get along so well. So you could
Mhm.
just tell these actors had a whole lot of fun, making this movie, hanging out together, and it's such a believable friendship, and like that's what really makes the movie work for me, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And the supporting cast too, I thought they were pretty funny too. Like I liked what's Jason Sudeikis, who's Olivia Wilde's husband actually. He
Oh,
plays
really?
yeah, they're married. He plays the principal of the school,
Hmm.
and he has some funny lines in here too. Kind of kind of like the straight edge principal who's kind of laid back also and doesn't really care
Hmm.
about any of the student government affairs or anything like that.
Yeah.
He's just trying to make money and make ends meet.
Hmm.
And freak, I'm forgetting the people's names already. Oh, the girl who plays as Gigi, what's her name?
Yeah.
Like, I
What is her
forget her
name?
name. Honestly, I cannot remember for the life of me. But
Billy Lord.
Billy Lord, right, right. Thank you. Yeah, she was. I think she's one of the standouts of this movie. She
Oh
had me
yeah.
cracking up, laughing every time she appeared on screen.
Yeah, no, she was really good. I just like what I really like about this movie too. It's like it's a step forwards in like diversity and representation in
Mhm.
Hollywood. Because I
Right.
remember me and my friends like we really liked Superbad in high school, even to the point where we nicknamed one of our friends McLovin. And then like as soon as like my friend said that, it snapped my mind. I'm like, oh snap, we're the guys from Superbad. Like we had this one dude like who made like these like really dirty jokes, and he even had like the curly hair, just like Jonah Hill. So I'm like, yeah, you're Jonah Hill, you're McLovin. That probably makes me Michael Cera, which like, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
It's Seth. I can see you being a Seth, very quiet and keeps to himself.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's totally me. And so then you're gonna have like all these high school girls like watching this movie and saying, "Wow, I can really relate to this. These are like problems
Right,
that I've gone through."
right. Yeah, not and I, I'm all here for diversity, but I've always said like I guess the conversation's always shifted to diversity on screen rather than diversity behind the scenes.
That is true.
And I've always said, like, get some more female writers and female directors in here
Mm.
to get some new visions into filmmaking here. And you get good stuff like this, and it kind of you it's not a resurgence, I would say, but a lot of teen comedies coming out the past few years, like Edge of 17 or Lady Bird and Eighth Grade.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you put a new face on it, you get something that's fresh and funny, and something that other groups of people who are marginalized could actually look up to.
Oh
You
yeah,
get good
totally.
stuff.
So yeah,
I
any
guess,
further thoughts on Booksmart?
yeah, I guess the one complaint I had about it, towards the third act, once they there's no spoiler here, but once they finally do get to the party, I felt like that sequence kind of went on a bit too long.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely, like you said, some of the jokes, they kind of fell flat in that sequence for me, and some of them could have been cut. But other than that, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I'd be surprised if this didn't make my top 10 by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, same here. I had a lot of fun, more fun than I expected to have with it. I'm probably gonna go back and watch it a couple of times. This is just a whole lot of fun. I recommend it to like anyone in high school, any high school girls or anything. This is a movie you're gonna have a lot of fun with. And I guess with that, we'll transition to Brightburn, which you and I will have like a big disagreement on. Not too big. I don't love the movie. I think it's okay, but you text me and you said, "Yeah, no, this movie's kind of disappointing," and I'm like, "It's all right. It's fine."
Yeah, no, this was for me, it was a huge disappointment just because I was actually when we actually did the most anticipated movies for the summer thing on the for the video.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually gonna put this on here, just got edged out because I was really looking forward to this. I was like, okay, so it's the whole spin on, well, what if Superman landed on Earth, but he's evil? And I thought you could do a lot of creative stuff with that. In the end, they just decide to make a pretty cheap horror movie, and that kind of disappointed me.
Yeah, like I would definitely say that they don't go far enough with their premise. It's a very simplistic take on it. It's like, when you get a lot of, all these, oh, what if Superman was evil thing, it's more like he becomes like a fascist dictator,
right?
And so like when I saw the trailers, I'm like, oh, they're gonna make Superman a horror movie villain. That's something that could be really unique, and I really like the design of the mask. It's like very creepy, especially with the red eyes, and I like a lot of the imagery in the movie of him just like floating in the sky with the mask, the red eyes, like the capes floating in the back. So I thought all of that was really interesting, and like I just thought it was an entertaining horror movie. But I will say, I feel like I didn't really connect to any of the characters in the movie.
Right.
I didn't really care much for the kid. I just thought he was like a really bland kid, and then out of nowhere he just becomes generic creepy horror kid number 52. Like, okay, I've seen this before. It's really nothing special.
Yeah, no, that was like my biggest issue with it, is that I think with this premise you had the chance to make like a good character story, something in the vein of like Chronicle. It's pretty much the same story. You have the kid Andrew, kind of pushed around all his life, gets superpowers, develops them, and uses it for evil instead of good. But with this movie, it's like they skip all that development and just cut straight to the kid being an evil dick. And it's like, well, I feel like I'm missing out on a lot here. But that I will say though that Elizabeth Banks, who plays his mother, I did feel for her character though. She was the one character I felt for because it sets her character up of being the mom who, this is her baby boy, her only child, and she's gonna be willing to defend him as much as possible. I felt like they could have gone even further with that, but they just chose to go for the scares.
Yeah, like I didn't connect to Elizabeth Banks' character all that much, or the dad. I just feel like a lot of the scenes that they did have where like they're trying to connect with their kid and whatnot. Is it just me, or did it feel like it felt like they had a longer scene and it just like got cut short in the editing room?
Oh yeah,
it felt like scene started, it was going somewhere interesting, and like it just like abruptly ended. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it was definitely edited weirdly. Like scenes end on like, I don't know, I can't explain it, but it's like they'll have a piece of dialogue here, and yeah, like you said, there should be more going on to it, but then it just cuts to the next scene. It's like, I feel like I'm missing out on some stuff here.
Yeah, and there are just like certain moments in the movie where like I feel like if there was like more time for it to like develop this family as a whole, like to see like their connection and whatnot. It would have
Mm.
been a lot more heart wrenching, really.
Oh
But
yeah.
just like when certain things happen, it's just like I really don't care all that much. Like I just really enjoyed like a lot of the horror elements. I found it entertaining, but
Right.
it's not something I'll go back and rewatch again. It's not like anything unique.
Yeah, no, I agree with that sentiment because I'll say this for the film, like just getting away from the whole super horror genre and it being so innovative. Like if you just go in for a horror flick here, then I think it's pretty decent. Like I don't know who the director of this film is, but
Yeah, because they put James Gunn's name all over it. Like,
yeah,
guys, he didn't direct it. He's just a producer.
producer, right? I
Yeah,
know
but the director is David Urvesky.
Yovesky.
Hmm.
You know any of his other directing credits
I
or
think this is his first feature film.
okay.
Um, let's see. I think he's like acted. He directed the Inferno music video for Guardians Volume 2,
Okay, with
which is
David
like,
Hasselhoff in that one.
yeah, that's like a pretty fun video. And other than that, he doesn't like have any big like movies as like director's credits.
Okay.
He directed a music video for Korn. I don't know if you know that band.
Yeah, I have no clue actually.
But yeah, it's the music video Hater. I've never heard that song. I don't listen to a whole lot of Korn. Um, but yeah.
Well, I'll say, well, I guess as a sort of newbie director, he definitely sets up scenes well with tension. And if you're here for the blood and gore, it definitely goes for it.
Oh yeah.
There's certain scenes, well, one in particular I'm thinking of that was in the trailer where it shows a glass in the woman's eye.
Oh yeah, that was a really good scene.
I was squirming in my seat. Like usually a film like this, like they'll cut away or they'll show a view from the back. This one gets a close up in the eye, shows her slowly peel it out. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't
Yeah.
watch. Like stuff like that's effective. And there's another one that I'll just say, well, I won't spoil it, but it definitely had my jaw on the floor. And
Mm.
you know, stuff like that's effective, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, how much am I really gonna remember all of this? Like,
Yeah.
it's another generic horror movie that you get one in a million of.
Yeah, like it definitely needs like at least another 10, 20 minutes longer. And that way we can spend time with this family and with this kid so we can get to know them more. And
Right,
then like it would have like more of an emotional impact when he does turn evil and when he does start doing all this stuff.
right. Nah,
I also say I like parts of the ending credits, but then like it plays a certain song and then like it shows there's this cameo and
yeah.
it just becomes campy out of nowhere, and I'm just like, what are you going for with this?
I know exactly what they're going for with this, and I do not like it at all.
Yeah,
I
like
guess.
I would have liked. It would have been better if like the whole movie in general was a lot more campy and a lot sillier, but they take this pretty seriously. And
Mhm.
so when they just like throw that in there, I just like like it throws you for a curveball. You're like it's not something you saw coming. It just doesn't fit in tonally, and it just makes zero sense.
Did somebody say franchise? I, yeah, that it was goofy.
Yeah.
Like that should have been left on the cutting room floor, if anything.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I really wish this movie could have been better because it definitely had the potential, but
Mhm.
I think it just falls short.
Yeah. And like I just wish they would have explored more like the background of this kid. Like they didn't have like the alien parents come in and then like explain, yes, this is our goal, this is what we want to do. But like I don't know, like they hint towards certain things. Like there's like this whole thing with like Wasp at the beginning, and that's like it was pretty interesting, but like
Right.
that ultimately ends up going nowhere.
Not a damn no, it doesn't go anywhere. In fact, none of the stuff in this movie goes anywhere. Like, yeah, like the whole relationship between the kid and the girl from his class, that
Mhm.
could have developed into something interesting, a nice
Yeah.
parallel to Clark Kent and Lois Lane.
Do you want
Goes
to go into
absolutely
spoilers? Because like I have like a lot of things I want to talk about like that contain
so,
spoilers.
let's go for it, man.
Okay, so this is your warning right now. Spoiler for Brightburn. Click off or skip ahead. There will be time codes in the description if you want to skip ahead to whatever we talk about. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, and spoilers right now. So when I first saw the movie, I thought like his whole purpose was like just to come to Earth, reproduce. Like didn't they say something about like Wasp in the movie about how like they force other people to like take care of their kids or something like that?
Yeah, they probably did, but honestly, everything kind of went out of my head.
Yeah, so I thought like the whole reason this kid was sent here, like, oh, reproduce, make more of your species, and then take over the world.
Mm.
And So I thought that's where they're going with the girl with the and they just didn't go there at all. Like they just set up this girl as his love interest and like how he's like kind of a pervert and they just don't take it anywhere.
Nope. And I guess I missed that whole motivation because the only thing I got from that was he kept getting the thoughts in his head keep telling him take the world, take the world.
Mhm.
But I guess you could take the world. You're pretty much unstoppable at this point, kid.
Yeah.
Just killing everything in sight for no apparent reason.
And
But
it's just like not really clear like what his mental state is going into this because like it
uh,
seems like there are moments where like he feels like remorse and guilt for some of it and then he just
mhm.
like snaps and he's like no, I feel no guilt. So I'm like, is that like a biological thing like of the species, or is that just like you like losing interest in like humanity as a whole? Like I don't get it.
I think you're asking way too many questions that the writers apparently had no interest in exploring whatsoever.
Probably.
Because there's great points to bring up, and like I said, it would have been great for a nice character piece film, but I'm, I don't know. It was just so disappointing. I like I will say before the end credit scene, I liked where it ended.
Oh yeah.
Uh, because you would think like, all right, well, she comes in about to kill her son. It's very cathartic, and it kind of just subverts expectations, sort of, where it's like,
Mm.
nope, I'm unstoppable still. I'm gonna kill you. And I was like, okay, this is a good twist here. I liked it. But then
Yeah.
they used that to go somewhere completely goofy and just completely uncalled for, I
Yeah,
think.
like I think if they just showed like the news footage of him just like destroying cities and whatnot,
Right.
and like with like some like dark ominous music or something, that would have been fine. But then
Mm.
they have Michael Rooker, who's like a good friend of James Gunn. He comes in, does this Alex Jones impersonation that's like really silly, and they play that one song, "Bad Guy, Bad Boy," or whatever by what's her name, Ellie something.
Honestly, I can't remember. Shoot,
Yeah, my brother knew the song. I
I
took my
can't
brother to
remember.
see the movie. And he's like dancing, like he's doing this silly dance as we're walking out. So like he knew the song. It's not the type of music I listen to. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like it becomes really goofy out of nowhere. And if the movie itself was a lot campier, I would have accepted it. But
Right.
it's just this like silly gag at the end of the movie that doesn't fit in with the tone at all.
Not one bit. And it's very, like I said, I can't say it as enough, but this movie has so much potential. Like they could have gone for complete campiness and set up this whole Justice League type thing of evil superheroes or villains rather.
Hmm.
But you choose to tell this one boring story of a kid, trying to come into his powers and automatically flipping on killing the world. It's like you could have spent, and the movie is very short too.
Oh
Like it
yeah,
was like what, an hour and a half, maybe less than that.
yeah,
It's like, you know, 30 minutes we could have spent to make it 2 hours and told, got some more character development with these guys here. But I don't know, for whatever reason, they decided this was the best option to put out into theaters.
yeah.
But
I mean,
nobody was.
overall, like I said, I enjoy it. It's a good horror movie, but yeah, it's riddled with problems. It's not something that's gonna stand out at all.
Yeah, not same. I probably will forget about this movie tomorrow.
Yeah, most
But
likely.
if you look at the box office report, well, the estimates, well, I guess since it's technically a 4-day weekend, this is the early estimates, but apparently nobody was interested in this movie either.
Yeah.
It brought in like 7.5 million for the
Mhm.
weekend, which, I guess the budget's very small, but we'll
Mhm.
see if they
Yeah, I
go
think
for with that franchise.
it was made for like 14 million, I believe I heard, like either 14 or 20.
Okay. I think they could definitely make that money back and try to Sony to jumpstart their franchise with this, but
Yeah.
uh, you could count me out. I'm not invested in it at all.
Hmm. Yeah. So I guess that's it for the Memorial Day weekend main event of like whatever came out this weekend. Let us know in the comment section what you saw. Which movies interested you the most, which one you like the most. Right now we're just going to go into talking about whatever we saw this week. Jalen, you text me telling me about this movie that you saw,
Oh
and
boy.
I watched the trailer, and I'm just like, how does this movie exist? So Jalen, what did you watch this week?
Well, I saw this movie that yeah, it kind of blew up on the internet when the trailer first came out and caused a lot of controversy, and that's Loquessha, directed and written and starred by some asshat named Jeremy Seville, who essentially the plot of the movie is he's a white American man. He wants to send his kid to some private school because I guess public schools aren't good enough, and he decides I'm gonna take up the voice of a black woman to host a radio talk show because that's what America likes is listening to sassy black women.
Mm-hmm.
And before I get into like talking about how racially offensive this movie is, I let's talk about how offensive the filmmaking quality of this movie is because it is abysmal, man. It's I'll cut him some slack because it's a low budget indie film, probably self financed. But when there's like YouTube sketch comedies that look better than your film and it's funnier, then come on, man. Like, why are you even putting this out at that point?
Yeah.
There's certain lines. Well, throughout the whole movie, they dub over lines and it's not synced up at all. The camera work is very average and just straight horrible. Like I've seen better lighting on Instagram stories, and I shit you not. I'm not exaggerating at all. Uh, the script is terrible, but that's like the least of its problems.
Mm-hmm.
The performances are just so flat and basic. It's terrible. But the worst thing about this film is that the story that he tries to tell with it's at such a stupid and ludicrous pace. I don't know, man. So okay, I'll take this one scene for example where his secret gets out the bag where everybody believes he's a black woman on the radio and the secret comes out, oh hey, I'm actually a white guy. Now you would assume that people would get mad at him and he's offered up for some critique. One person who he tries to develop a relationship with, which is a black woman, she calls him out on it, starts cursing him out. Literally 5 seconds later, she forgives him and they sleep with each other. All is forgiven. It's like, okay, who the hell wrote this, man? None of this makes sense. And
Nah.
it's just terrible. But, the big thing that people are pissed off with this movie at is the whole white guy pretending to be a black woman thing.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, going into the film as a black dude myself, I was kind of giving it the side eye, but I wasn't, gonna just automatically write off the movie because, with the right writer, I think they could have pulled this off, inject some smart satire into this, make it funny. Like we've seen it with Sorry to Bother You last year. We've seen it with Tropic Thunder with Robert Downey Jr.
Mm-hmm. Especially with like Get Out, how like because like this is like something that like the dad from Get Out would have done, and
Right.
Jordan Peele like perfectly satirizes that.
Exactly. Like there's definitely a commentary you can make with this, but Jeremy Seville, he's not that person at all to make something smart and funny and socially aware. It's just him doing a bad black woman or what he believes a black woman should sound like in 2019 as sassy and ghetto. And it's offensive on all uh, realms of the spectrum there because he completely avoids talking about racism in this movie and like the whole idea of stereotypes and societal expectations. Essentially what he does here is he takes the most marginalized group in America, which is black women, and kind of just mocks them just for the sake of his film. And it's like, come on, man, this isn't funny. It's not entertaining at all. It's straight up offensive at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man. You could take it back all the way to like the black mammy characters from like films like Gone with the Wind or I'm blanking out. There's a bunch of movies from like the early 30s or whatnot, that kind of portrayed black women in this light.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like I thought we kind of moved past this, but obviously we didn't. And we got to put up with shit like this.
Yeah. I think so. I watched the trailer after you texted me about it, and when I watched the trailer, I just like the most mind-boggling thing about this movie, the stupidest part of this movie, other than the obvious racism, is like when you listen to this guy's like quote unquote sassy black voice, he still sounds like a middle-aged
white guy. Exactly.
Yeah, He sounds nothing like the stereotypical black girl. And it's like, what in the world is this? Who would believe this? This is such a stupid movie. Like, it's one thing you're trying to be like you make an offensive movie. It's another thing that you don't even succeed in in creating the stereotype. Like
Right.
that's like just stupid on so many levels.
Let me ask, did you ever catch the movie Sorry to Bother You last year?
I did. I loved that movie. It was really good.
It's my favorite one of last year. And so, like the whole joke, with him doing the white guy voice, they dub it over with, actors like Patton Oswalt or Steve Buscemi, who,
Oh yeah.
they have the most funniest stereotypical white guy voice. If he done something like that, got somebody like, I don't know, Monique or somebody to dub over the lines, which I doubt she would ever try to be a part of this film at all. But if he did something like that and make it so surreal that you have to laugh at it, then it would have been better. But no, you just did a very trash black woman, or what white people think black women sound like, impression. Yeah. I was honestly, the reason I saw so many movies this weekend is because I was trying to scrub this movie out of my mind, but for whatever reason, I keep coming back to it. It's just something baffling to think about.
And it's just interesting too when you look at like Get Out that came out 2 years ago, and this was the exact thing Jordan Peele was talking about. The exact thing, like like all these white people like trying to be cool and be black. Like, no, that's not how it works. Just stay where you are.
Right? Like, just stop, please.
Yeah, like you stop trying so hard to be something you're not, please.
And you would think that would be the lesson of the film, but I'm just gonna go ahead and spoil it. By the end of the film, he's still doing the Loquessha voice. Like, everybody knows he's a white guy, and apparently everybody's okay with it. He goes back to doing it still. People love it. So it's like, I don't know what world this movie is set in, but there would be massive protests, or this dude would have been killed at this point. I don't.
Oh, totally.
I don't know what the hell you want me to get from this movie. It's awful.
Yeah, especially like if you go into like there's so many like celebrities or politicians where like if you dig in their past and they say like the wrong thing only once, like everyone like scrutinizes them forever. Like they hold that against them. And,
oh yeah, I mean, especially in 2019 now, social media, it's easy just at the snap of a finger to dig up somebody's past, just to cancel. We're in the cancel culture now.
Oh yeah,
but now Loquessha still lives somehow.
Okay, whatever.
It's an awful movie.
Yeah. So this week, like I said, I was planning on seeing Aladdin today. I ended up not seeing it, but in advance, I rewatched the original Aladdin, and I decided to watch another Guy Ritchie movie because the only movies of him that I've seen is I've seen like the first couple of minutes of the first Sherlock Holmes, which was pretty entertaining. Okay. I saw The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I didn't like. King Arthur was horribly boring. I'm like, I gotta watch one of those good ones. I gotta give him a chance. And so I watched Snatch, which is on Netflix, and that was a lot of fun. That was like a really entertaining movie.
Wait, you said Snatched or
Snatch?
Or Snatch? Oh, okay, yeah. I'm thinking of the Amy Schumer one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, no, they had like, is it that one is Snatch with an ED or is it just Snatch?
Yeah, I think it's Snatched with an ED.
Okay,
I know the Snatch you're talking about.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, no, that one was really interesting. So basically, think Edgar Wright, but the comedy is a lot darker, and it's like a lot of the same stylized camera moves and whatnot, a lot of the same exaggerated characters, and it's just so weird to think that this guy made like Man from U.N.C.L.E. or King Arthur, which is like it's just really didn't grab me at all. And he makes these movies. His first two movies have like these exaggerated characters, these like really stylistic camera moves and whatnot. Definitely like the standout character for me was Brad Pitt. He plays a gypsy, and the running gag about his character is you can't understand a word he's saying because of how thick his accent is. And so Jason Statham and his friend will be like talking about like a business deal with Brad Pitt, and he'll say something and they're like, "What?" And like all of Brad Pitt's friends will repeat it in like the same thick accent, and they're just like, yeah, I didn't understand a word he said. Like, how are we gonna make a deal with a guy when you can't understand a thing he says? And like the other running gag with him is that he knocks out everyone with just one punch, and so they get him to go fight in these underground boxing matches, and they it's the typical mob boss thing: go down in the fourth round so we can like win with all these bets and whatnot.
Right.
He goes in his first match, one punch knocks the guy out. And then everyone's like, "Oh, I bet him money that he'll go down in the fourth. He told me he'll go down in the fourth." And it just like it creates this whole wacky scenario of them like he has like find a way to get the money back. And then the other big thing about this is like someone like these bank robbers stole this diamond, and
Hmm.
so everyone is also trying to get the diamond back, and like they're all intertwined somehow. And like my main complaint with the movie is like the story is hard to follow at times. Well,
Right.
you don't know like how this character connects to that character. There's too many moving parts.
Right.
Um, but overall, it's just like wildly entertaining, really funny, and I highly recommend it, especially if you're disappointed with like a lot of Guy Ritchie's movies nowadays.
Right.
This movie is so much fun. It's just a really good time.
I gotta check. You got me interested in see. I've never checked it out, but I've always heard great things about it. Um, as far as like one of the best, criminal comedy films. But
Mm.
you said it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay, I add that to my queue then.
Yeah,
Check
I
that
definitely
out.
recommend it because like what a lot of people say about Guy Ritchie is that his first two movies were really great, and then after
Right.
that it all goes downhill. And from what I've seen, I really haven't enjoyed all that much. And so it's just really interesting to see how this guy like creates his own unique style, his own unique movies, and
Yeah.
then he goes on to make like studio stuff like King Arthur or Aladdin.
Yeah.
And I think like I need to revisit Man from Uncle because maybe on a rewatch I would like it more. I haven't watched it in years, but I don't know. It seems like he's really lost a lot of his touch. And his movies are just like a lot very different from what they used to be.
I'm just with the exception of Aladdin, because I've only seen Man from Uncle and King Arthur, and it's probably the second Sherlock Holmes movie. I don't think I've seen the first one, but I'm just really not impressed with his style of directing, where he constantly has to do like the slow mo or the weird frame rates of characters, like very awkward, stylistic choices that he does.
Mhm.
I'm just not. It doesn't really appeal to me that much, but from what you say about Snatch, though, it definitely sounds interesting. Definitely gotta
Yeah.
check back his earlier work.
Like a lot of his later stuff is like a very watered down version of his style. Like the
Mm,
best representation of in like some of his later works is like King Arthur, where the guard goes up to Arthur and he says, "Okay, tell me what happened." Like he gives him a rundown of what happens. Like it's like all these cuts back, like the
yeah,
story and whatnot. Like that, a lot of that is in Snatch, and then there's like a lot of like stylized editing and it camera works. Like I said, it's a lot. It's very similar to Edgar Wright, just like the comedy is a lot darker. It's like more of a dark comedy than it is just like outright cartoonish, like Edgar Wright.
okay. Well, man, shoot. Yeah, you got me interested now. But yeah, I don't know who's because Guy Ritchie, he's one of the directors where I'd say it's definitely a mixed bag with him. He's very polarizing.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure there's like a bunch of other directors in the same vein, but yeah, I can't honestly think of anybody else who has just as many fans as he has haters.
Oh yeah. Zack Snyder is definitely one of them.
I always just assumed that everybody hated him.
No, he has like this weird fanboy cult, and I don't get it at all. The whole like release the Snyder cut. It's
Oh,
funny.
right, right.
So if you follow Warner Brothers on Twitter, right?
Hmm.
Anything they post, if you look in the comments section, it's all these guys saying, "Yeah, this movie's all right, but where's the Snyder cut?" Like, guys, stop trying so hard, please.
If you're really that interested in that, then I'm not. I mean, I get different people have various opinions, and everybody can accept that. But
Hmm.
I don't understand what the appeal is with that movie.
Yeah. I don't know, because like the thing is too with the release of Snyder Cut people, it's people who don't understand how filmmaking works.
Mm,
Because is there a cut of of like Snyder's film? Yeah, probably. But that cut has like unfinished VFX. Some of
yeah.
them probably haven't even been started yet. Like and so in order to release that cut, you're gonna have to put in millions of dollars. And it's like fixing the special effects and
Yeah.
like making everything look more professional. WB is going to put that out with like a movie that bombed hard. Like a $300 million budget, only got back close to like 700 million. It's not going to happen, guys. You need to give up.
Yeah, especially like plus I don't know in what world people always try to assume that the director knows more than the studio, but who's to say that the Snyder Cut was actually decent? Because I
Yeah,
mean, you look at Batman versus Superman, the movie's already a mess.
Yeah, even the Ultimate Cut that came out, and
All
it's like,
right.
yeah, it's like this movie that was long and boring, and that's at an extra 30 minutes.
But they say they have for it in it, so it's definitely hardcore.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm kind of thinking back to like Josh Whedon also. I know people are saying they wanted to see his version of the Age of Ultron film,
Hmm.
but when I was reading into it, it's kind of like he's like kind of asking for like some ridiculous things. Like I read he wanted to put Captain Marvel into that film. It's like,
Hmm.
dude, you already crammed like so many other superheroes into this already bloated film.
Yeah.
Like, what else are you trying to do with this now? Like, pace yourself.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely like Age of Ultron. It's a mess, but I definitely enjoy it. But there's just like so many parts where, because like it's weird because it's supposed to be the Empire Strikes Back of the MCU, which I think Civil War does like way
Right.
better. Like Civil War is a better Empire Strikes Back, and so they had to set up Civil War, Infinity War. They had to like flesh out Ultron as this new villain.
Hmm.
And like there's like so many moving pieces to it, and like I do ultimately enjoy it. Like it's not a giant mess like Batman v Superman or like
No,
any
not at
other.
all.
Like they managed like Marvel's formula, like the way they make their movies. Like they don't put out terrible movies.
Right.
Like the worst they'll put out is like Captain Marvel, which is like, you know, it's kind of boring. It's kind of uninteresting, but it's not a giant mess. You
Yeah.
know?
It's at the very least entertaining. But
Yeah,
hopefully, these Snyder fanboys they get what they want someday, and they get to see their unfinished Snyder cut.
yeah. I mean, at this point, just like I don't know, that's not gonna happen. They did the whole big protest. Only 11 people showed up. Unless those 11 people are gonna buy a million copies of the Snyder Cut, they're not gonna put it out. You know?
Actually, that kind of is what I wanted to talk to you about earlier this week. This whole idea that I remember you were telling me like the vocal minority, you got it with the Batman and Superman crowd or the Last Jedi crowd. But
Hmm.
actually, this weekend we kind of seen it with the Aladdin crowd too, where the movie was getting trashed online from which, admittedly, they're awful trailers, and people saying this movie's gonna flop, it's gonna bomb. Looking at the box office report, that can't be further from the truth.
Yeah, it's doing pretty good. It's doing all
It,
right.
it's kind of like how much of a voice does the internet really have? And
Yeah.
from a recent debacle, we had the whole Sonic trailer, and
Hmm.
you heard how they're gonna push the film back so they could fix up how Sonic looks.
Hmm.
Should they even bother at this point? Like,
Yeah. I definitely think that's like a dangerous thing for studios to do
mm.
because I mean, Sonic looked awful. He looked terrible. The design was bad, especially like coming right after Detective Pikachu.
Oh
That
yeah,
looked really bad.
awful.
And so I get it. You're not satisfied with how it looks. I mean, but the thing is too, the movie itself looks terrible. So you're just
Yeah.
fighting you're fighting something that like doesn't really matter because when the movie does come out, even with like the fixed Sonic design,
Right.
it looks incredibly unfunny. The visuals look really flat. It just looks like something that would have come out around the same time as like Yogi Bear or Alvin and the Chipmunks. You know?
Uh, it just looks so generic, and yeah, like it came out the wrong the wrong decade.
Yeah.
And that's the funny thing about it. Like you spend all this money to redo the Sonic effect. It's like, well, that's the least of this movie's problems from what I've seen so far.
Yeah. And this isn't going to make any money at all. Let's be real. It looks so dated. Audiences aren't going to connect with it. You have the vocal minority of like Sonic fans saying, "Yeah, fix the design, fix the design." But you got to
Mhm.
keep in mind, a lot of these like hardcore comic book fans or video game fans, you really are in the minority when it comes to this stuff. Like if you look at all these superhero movies that come out and all these video game movies that come out,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't. These movies didn't make $1 billion because of the fans. It
Yeah.
made $1 billion because like all the casuals who said, "Yeah, no, that's pretty entertaining. I guess I'll go watch it."
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, people, try to assume that, oh, the fans we hate Captain Marvel, so therefore her movie's gonna flop. Further from the truth, it made a
Yeah, it
billion
made $1 billion.
dollars. Like people love the character, and not just from the hardcore fan groups, but that's the whole point of movie marketing. You branch out to just a whole broad spectrum of people.
Exactly.
And I don't know which broad spectrum of people think that the Sonic trailer looks at the very least decent.
Yeah. I don't know. I find it really interesting when you compare like Marvel and like DC's earlier movies.
Hmm.
Because Marvel was like branching out and connecting with everyone, not just like the comic book fans.
Right.
And then when you look at like how Batman v Superman was made, like I bring this issue up with a lot of people. Like one of the big things with Batman in that movie was that apparently, the reason he started killing people was because he lost Jason Todd.
Right.
And let's say you've never read a comic book in your life. You know Batman from like the animated series, from like the movies and whatnot. Who the heck is Jason Todd?
And I mean, he kind of gets away with it. That's actually kind of the one thing I did like about that movie was Batman's whole backstory, and he kind of throws in like Robin's old suit with Joker spray painted over it, but still to the casual viewer, it's like, well, what the hell is that supposed to mean? I don't know what this is.
Like the colors on that costume are so muted because like Zack Snyder's style, where you can't tell what that is. Exactly. They don't even mention Jason Todd at all, so it's just like it's something that's hinted towards, but you never bench on. It's like Zack Snyder trying to be like this pretentious guy, like, oh yeah, they'll know what it means. I hinted towards it, so that means it's good. No, you definitely have to like flesh that out. Who was Jason Todd? What's his background? What happened to him?
Exactly, and I mean, blame Warner Brothers too for rushing in for a Batman and Superman movie. Like that could have been explored in the Batman movie, but we'll see how that turned out.
And then you look at like Iron Man 3, where everyone's like, oh, I hate the Mandarin twist. That's not the Mandarin from the comics. That movie made $1 billion, people. Shut up.
I actually like the Mandarin twist, but
no, it's really good.
I like too, like they actually kind of came in and retconned it. It was like, well, he's not the real Mandarin. The real Mandarin is still out there. And apparently, I don't know how true this is, but the rumor is apparently for the new Shang-Chi movie, that the Mandarin is supposed to be his father, the real Mandarin.
Really?
That's what I'm hearing. But
that would make a lot of sense because the thing with Iron Man and like the original Mandarin, like Mandarin in the original Iron Man comics, he's this very racist caricature of like the Chinese like sorcerer and whatnot. If you want to see a good Mandarin movie, watch Big Trouble in Little China. That's a good Mandarin movie. That's a good Mandarin villain. But if you just like, if you carry this over into, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is like it has mostly white male characters, and then you try to make this Asian caricature, it's just not going to work out. It's going to be very offensive to some people, and it's even like Aladdin faces a lot of these problems because like while like the new one is like great for representation of like Middle Eastern people, they kind of just like take all the Middle Eastern elements like mashed in one movie. Like, this is the Middle East movie. Like, but there's varied cultures in the Middle East. Like, they're not all the same.
Yeah. And I guess that's kind of like the downfall of having like, I hate to be this guy, but having a white guy like Guy Ritchie do that, because you could compare it to like Ryan Coogler with Black Panther. Like he takes various styles of African cultures to create one big new fictional culture.
Yeah.
Draw inspirations from it. And I do agree. Yeah, Aladdin didn't do that.
Yeah, and like the thing with Wakanda is that like it takes place in the real world. And so like all of Africa, like all the countries are still there, but then there's like Wakanda and like their own thing, like they're the futuristic Africa, and that just works out really well.
Yeah, it's done very, very well.
I don't know, like if you just have like nothing but white dudes telling these stories, then like you're not gonna get an actual like diverse film industry, like that's the whole issue with Green Book. It's like, these white dudes made a movie about racism, but like it's like in the movie, it's like, oh yeah, racism ended with Green Book. And then you look at Spike Lee's Black Klansman, it's like, they defeated the Ku Klux Klan at the end, and it's like, oh wait, did we really?
Yeah, no. That's why I actually love the Black Klansman, because just the ending, how they juxtapose it with the Charlottesville footage, just to pose that question, like, well, how much progress did you really make?
Exactly.
But I agree. Like, I would definitely like to see more diversity behind the scenes with our writers and film directors. Just because, like, not just for diversity's sakes, but then you get diversity in ideas too. You get different experiences poured into film.
Exactly. Like, I think one of the biggest complaints with me with like a recent horror movie was The Curse of La Llorona. And I'm Latin American. My mom's Puerto Rican. My dad's Guatemalan and Salvadorian. I didn't watch the movie. It looked like trash. I wasn't gonna pay to go see it. So you have this movie about it's like a big Central American thing. My stepdad's Panamanian, so even he knows the story. And so it's like this lady, she killed her kid and then she killed herself. And whenever she hears a kid cry, she goes and she kidnaps that kid.
Oh wow!
And so you had this movie about this like Central American myth, which yeah, if you got like someone who was Central American behind the camera, I don't even know who directed it. Let me look it up real quick. But yeah, so you had the Central American myth, um, and like this could have been a big push for diversity um in the Central American market because then you had Jordan Peele directing Us and Get Out. This is horror
Right.
films made for African Americans, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how you have a white lady as the lead. Like, listen, I have nothing against white people. Like, white people can be cool, but like, this is like whitewashing. You know, like this is you're taking a Spanish story, a Hispanic story, and you're putting a white person in the lead. It's like, no, put someone of Latino descent. You know?
I actually didn't know. Oh yeah, because I did see in the trailer, Linda Cardinelli, she was in it, right? She's the lead.
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh wow. Then wait a minute, this movie doesn't take place in Mexico?
Does it? I'm not sure.
Because that's crazy if it does. And they still that sucks.
Yeah, like so it's her taking in these like Latino kids, protecting them from this monster, and it's like, no, dude, no,
yeah, the
no,
whole white savior effect in playing horror movies now.
yeah. Uh, it's just really frustrating. So director's last name, director is Michael Chavez. Chavez is like a Spanish sounding name. I looked up a picture of him. He doesn't look like, I don't know. Hold on, because it's giving me like a bunch of random pictures of like random Michael Chavez's. Hold on.
Try to look it up myself.
So Michael Chavez is an American film director, writer, visual effects artist. Let me look up ethnicity real quick.
Well, apparently he's doing Conjuring 3. Got that promotion.
Oh, he's doing Conjuring 3?
Yeah, supposedly.
Oh, interesting. All it says under nationality is American. Looking at the picture, he could pass for Latino, I guess. He doesn't have a Latino name. But yeah, it's just really frustrating that you put a white lady in the lead of like this Central American story when you could have had someone of Guatemalan descent, Mexican, Panamanian.
Yeah.
It's just like there's so many like this was like one time you could push for diversity, really market to this Latin American crowd, and you didn't. So
Yeah,
good job, I guess.
Kind of think about it, like Gina Rodriguez, she would have been perfect. Fit for this film. You know,
And
up and coming star.
it's weird because like all these movies I see with like Latin American cast, like the ones I do like see trailers for and whatnot, they look like these really cheesy action movies, and it's just like, no, don't do better, please. I need like more representation from me. Like, you can do better than this. Come on, please.
There's actually a film that just came out a few weeks ago, El Chicano.
Yeah, I saw the trailers for that, and that did not look good.
I was actually it was playing at my theater up by my house, and I was going to see it, but then I was like, George Lopez looked kind of goofy here. I might skip out.
Yeah. I don't know, because like that's like Latino vigilante, and like, that could have been cool. You get like a really talented action director behind it. You could have made a really fun action movie, and it looked really cheesy. I didn't want it. It looked like it had a bunch of like, all these like Latino caricatures and whatnot, and I'm like, no, I have zero interest. Granted, I haven't seen the movie, so like it could be better than I give it credit for, but yeah. And it's just like, it's really interesting too, because you get movies like Black Panther, Get Out, Us, and one thing, it's like really weird because like movie executives are all about the money, and they think you put like all these white leads and they'll bring in the money. Put Scarlett Johansson and Ghost in the Shell, when you could put someone who's Japanese and she'll bring in the money, and that would be bombs. You get Black Panther. They marketed this movie on like how big it was for diversity. That movie made $1 billion. Get Out was the most profitable movie of 2017 because I had such a small budget, but it made back a lot of money, and like the big push of it was like, it's representing an issue that African Americans go through.
Exactly.
Wonder Woman was a big push for diversity for women. Same thing with Captain Marvel. Like, even though like I feel like Captain Marvel is a bland character, you could see moments in that movie where it's like they're really pushing for, females can be strong too, girl power, and like because of that, it made a lot of money.
Right.
And so I don't know what it is with these people. It's just like, get it through your thick skull. Diversity sells. You make more money when you put like people of color, when you put women, when you put people of like, diverse backgrounds.
Right. I mean, shoot, I'm thinking of Crazy Rich Asians last summer. The film that was made for like less than $50 million went on to gross over $200 million.
Yeah, that movie hit it big. Like it was like such a big talking point in
Yeah,
Hollywood,
yeah,
and it's like,
exactly.
and like Marvel's really capitalizing on this well because like a lot of their first movies, white dude in the lead,
Hmm.
um, no females in sight, no people of color, and Black Panther comes out and they market it as like the big push for representation in Marvel, and it hits
Hmm.
big. Same thing, Captain Marvel, big push in representation for females, hits big, and now they have Shang-Chi coming out.
Yep. Hit the Asian community next.
Yeah, and then they get the Eternals, and they announced that the lead is going to be a gay character, which is going to be a big push for representation in the LGBTQ community.
Oh, yeah.
So Marvel knows, like they know diversity sells, and like
Hmm.
we just need to like get all these other, all these other companies like hop on this, like diversity sells.
Yeah, shoot. Like if you want to just be straight up cynical about it, then yeah, just straight up go up to the studios, tell them like you'll make money if
Yeah,
you cater to the diverse crowds.
exactly. Like that's all these really, executives like really care about. They want to make sure they get a good return,
Yeah.
and just like it's pretty simple. Just say, hey, just push the fact that this is a push for diversity, and you'll make money.
But yeah, I don't know, cause you get stuff like Black Panther, but then at the same time we still have people thinking that films like Loquessha is still acceptable. So
Yeah, or
I
Green
guess,
Book.
or yeah, the Green Book, which yeah, I guess people still are living in their old days of Hollywood,
Mhm.
but it's unfortunate. Hopefully,
Yeah.
we're seeing. I think we're seeing a push in the right direction so
Oh,
far.
totally.
And we're getting
Yeah.
more higher budgeted films that caters to different crowds.
Mhm. Like even look at Star Wars, and the first few movies, like a bunch of white characters,
Mm,
and now we're starting to see more representation for other groups and the newer movies.
right.
We've got like a couple of Asian leads. We got Donnie Yen in Rogue One,
Yeah, yeah.
which he was really cool in that movie. You got John
Mm.
Boyega, Daisy Ridley, Oscar Isaac, who's Guatemalan, which is like great for me because like, hey, there's a Guatemalan in Star Wars. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. I can imagine. And plus, he was great. He's great as Paul Dameron too.
Oh yeah,
So,
he's awesome.
but
Yeah.
you still got those tiny but very loud groups of people who believes that this is what's ruining their precious movies and
Oh yeah.
why diversity is a hindrance to good storytelling, as if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they don't care about the internet. They care about money. Black
Mhm.
Panther made 1 billion. Last Jedi, 1.3 billion. Force Awakens, highest grossing movie in America. Um, yeah, guys, you're not getting through. Just stop. You're embarrassing yourselves.
And that's kind of funny. Like if you want to put it into that perspective, Solo, the Star Wars story, that's the lowest grossing of these new Star Wars movies. Stars a white guy. So just saying.
Stars a white guy. Majority of the cast is white. There's only like one black character in there. And like the other thing we get closest to diversity is like this SJW robot, who was the best part of Solo.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, see what happens.
yeah.
Actually, speaking of diversity, I kind of wanted to transfer over to the talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because
Hmm.
that's been making big news this past week because it debuted at Cannes,
Hmm.
and I'm excited for the movie. I've watched the two trailers like a million times, but I'm just seeing a bunch of white people in
Oh yeah.
it.
And watch
But
them because it's Tarantino. They're all gonna say the N word at least once.
yeah, I want to know how he's gonna crowbar it into this. I understand the movie takes place in '69, but I want to know how he crowbars it into this one.
Yeah, it's
I'm
just I don't know. I like a lot of Tarantino's movies. He's like definitely like a very unique filmmaker. He has his own unique style, and they're a
mm.
lot of fun. But then like he has to just like cram in the N word, and it's just like, dude, stop. No, it's funny because my cousin, he absolutely hates Tarantino. He doesn't not absolutely. He enjoys some of his movies, but like he's like his biggest critic.
Yeah,
And so he showed one time I was over at his place, and he shows me this video of like Tarantino doing this interview for Django Unchained,
right.
and it's Tarantino trying to sound like a black dude, trying to talk jive, and like trying to do this like really deep voice. Meanwhile, Jamie Foxx is there, Samuel L. Jackson is there.
Yeah.
The girl who played Jamie Foxx's wife in that movie, she's also
Okay,
there.
Washington.
Yeah, and like they're all just like trying to get him to shut up. Like yeah, if I speak longer, he won't be able to say more racist stuff.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He gets into his own head a lot. but
Yeah.
I still respect him as a film director. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's like my most anticipated movie for this summer. Hopefully, it lives up to the rave reviews it's getting.
And it's interesting too because like if you go into like when like people bring up the question of diversity and whatnot, like even with the Cannes Film Festival, like a reporter asked him, "Oh, how come Margot Robbie doesn't have
Oh
a
yeah, I
lot of
seen
lines?"
that.
And that's a stupid question in the first place.
Hmm.
That's like just like you trying to paint him as a villain, which like yeah, he's kind of racist, he's kind of sexist. Um, but like just like a question like that, it's just like it's kind of not important. It's like it's not really hitting at the real issues, you know?
Yeah.
And so then he responds, "Well, I just reject your hypothesis." Like, no, dude, no, just no.
I don't know. I think as stupid as the question was, I think it is, because at these press events and these, press releases, whatnot, you can't really ask like series of questions that's going to delve deep into the plot. That they actually, have you seen for the marketing push for this? He wrote a letter asking not to spoil it
Oh
or
yeah.
what. So I guess they're taking the end game approach with it. So,
Hmm.
but I guess they don't want to go into this. I think it's a fair question, but for him, to not even want to entertain that, it's
Yeah.
like,
Because listen, you look at Tarantino's history with like African Americans and with women, and like yeah, this whole thing with Uma Thurman, when it came to Kill Bill, and
yeah.
he's just like, yeah, no, you got to do this stunt driving. It's gonna be dangerous, but I don't care. You got to do it. So yeah, it's just like he's like part of this history of like directors who just like abuse their female leads and just like mistreat them.
Yeah.
And so it's like fair to question Tarantino's logic behind these movies and like the way he treats like he has this like this weird thing with feet, and I don't get it. He constantly has to shoot their feet, and it's like, dude, stop,
Did
please.
you saw it in this trailer too? She had her feet pressed right up against the
Oh
windshield.
yeah, and like even like I was watching Brightburn and I saw the trailer. It's like her feet right there. I'm like, dude, please stop. Like there's like a lot about his movies I do enjoy, but then like there's all these little moments where he has to put in something that's like gonna what's the word I'm looking for? It's like it's gonna offend these people.
Hmm.
And it's just you don't have to do this. Like I get it, you're like the big tough guy who like does offensive stuff to get attention. Like but like
Hmm.
there's so much more to your movies more than just being offensive.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess that's just his whole shtick for a while, was to be the shock jock. But
Hmm.
when he gets into it, he definitely could tell really great stories. But other times, I guess he just has issues finding like uh, balance with tone
Hmm.
in his films, so that it just comes off as straight offensive and gratuitous for no reason.
Oh yeah.
And especially with the subject matter of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like I know it's the background of it, but it's dealing with the Manson murders of the Tate family.
Hmm.
It's kind of like, ooh, Tarantino doing this. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's it's definitely gonna offend a lot of people, I'm assuming.
Definitely. It's definitely gonna split people. I mean, that's what Tarantino's movies always does. Like some people either they really enjoy it, despite like the gratuitous content, or they just get like really offended by it. And
Right.
like both sides, like I can completely understand both sides. Like there's a lot in the movies that just scream his ego and his need to be for shock value.
Hmm.
And I try to enjoy it despite that. Like Hateful Eight, I really enjoy. I have some issues with it, but like then like you have these like caricatures like constantly saying the N word, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, you can stop now. We get it. They're racist.
Or just, even without the racial slurs, just like unnecessary shock jock scenes, like Samuel L. Jackson getting blown by some dude. It's like, do we really need to go this far with the film here?
Yeah.
It's kind of unnecessary, but yeah, that's just him. You take it or leave it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I kind of respect him like that too.
Mhm. Yeah, I just think he's like another victim of not victim, like another like person who pushes this whole thing where it's like it's this white dude trying to talk about racism,
Mm.
and his like idea of a racist is just like this person who says the N word all the time. When it's not as simple as that. There's a lot more to delve into when it comes to racism.
Yeah.
And like yeah, saying the N word is wrong. Don't say the N word, especially if you're not African American. Don't say it. But at the same time, there's a lot more to racism than just saying the N word.
Yeah, it's systemic, but his
Yeah.
films, I guess they don't really need to go into how that he feels like.
Hmm.
I don't blame him.
I think with that, I think this is where we'll end the podcast for today. Thank you all for listening. I've been Alexander Cepeda. You can find me on Twitter Jedi Master Alex, at AlexZep99. You can find me on Letterboxd as Alex the Movie Buff. DA, not THE. It's a cheesy name, but whatever. Um, so yeah, I've been Alex.
And I'm Jalen Michael.